Today is this very special episode because we got College of Charleston head men's basketball coach, Coach Groce.
Obviously, you've had a busy offseason, and I wanted to ask you kind of how the Charleston opportunity came about.
I didn't know they had the 5th highest winning percentage in college basketball history behind North Carolina, Kansas, Duke, and Kentucky.
When you look at like coaching staff or players that we want to bring in, what are the first evaluations that you make when you get to a program?
I think for us, the number one thing that we decided right from the jump was we're going to make this early on about the people.
3 straight MAC titles, 3 straight NCAA tournament appearances. Like, what's your mindset trying to rebuild that type of success?
I'm just wondering, how do you balance both the structure in your offense and defense while also teaching like discipline? Because you guys have a very up-tempo, high-level effort and an energy-ridden team.
You have to have guys that care about winning first and foremost, that want to buy into how we want to play. Our offense, we describe it as all gas, no brakes.
What's your vision for College of Charleston? What are you trying to accomplish at the end with this program?
I tell them all the time, better people, better Cougars. You know, and if we do that every day and just keep trying to do the right thing every day, then stack those days, you know, then we're going to give ourselves a chance to accomplish those 3 things we mentioned: engage the community, transformational experience, and compete for championships.
Tavari said, ask him about how he was plotting on chewing me out before the workout even started my freshman year.
It's amazing what guys remember, don't they?
Welcome back to another episode of Not Even D2. I'm your host, KJ Allison, here with my boy and co-host, Naruto Perdomo. We have a great episode where we talk with John Groce, who's the new head coach at the College of Charleston. We talked with him for like an hour. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode. What's up, though, bro? How you?
Doing good, man. It's a beautiful day. We're in June right now. We are in June right now, so beautiful weather. Summer is upon us. Knicks are in the finals. Feeling real good right now, bro. Feeling real good. About to be in the city in a couple of days. Feel good. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, when you slide, we definitely got to get up together, bro. New York City's been a vibe, especially like you said, the Knicks and the Fives, which we'll talk about at the end of this episode. Get your thoughts from a true Knicks fan. We was talking off air about how a lot of these fans is performative and not just going along for the ride. But I appreciate fandom regardless how it comes. But yeah, let's talk about John Groce and this episode. So I think this is really cool episode. I think it was kind of in question, like he's leaving such a, I want to say historic program at Akron. He kind of made it historic, but you just get the vibe, or you know the reputation that Akron has as a basketball program, and he left for Charleston, and a lot of people kind of had like their heads turned why he do that, 3 straight MAC championships. But I really respect Groce, and he kept his family at the forefront of his decision. And the College of Charleston, like, it's a fairly new program compared to Duke, Kentucky, those type of schools. They've only been around for, I think, 30 seasons, but I think Groce is really going to have another stop and another great career at this stop. So I'm excited to see where this program goes and Coach Groce's career, how it continues to evolve. But what you think about this episode?
Definitely a great episode. I think one of my favorites, to be honest. Shout out Coach Groce. It was a cool one, and I think, you know, speaking to your point about questioning the move to Charleston, I feel like Coach Groce kind of answered a lot of the questions you or maybe audience members may have had about making this move. Like, we talked obviously at length about, you know, the city of Charleston itself and why it's such a beautiful city to be there, but what the actual College of Charleston school provides. And they provide a lot for him, right? They're providing stability and just in terms of having great leadership within the athletic department, having the right investment, having the right facility. And Coach Groce, like, he already built a great program, as you just talked about, Akron. Won 3 straight MAC titles, which had never been done before in the MAC. And I didn't know that until the interview. And like you said, he's probably one of the best coaches to come out that conference too, because that had never been done before. So Coach Groce is top of the top, elite program builder, culture builder. And he just has a great mind for the game. We talked some ball with him, which I haven't really heard on some other podcasts. So, you know, if you're a Coach Groce fan or you're a College of Charleston fan, you'll like that too. You get an inside look into what the offense might look like this year. But really great episode. Shout out Coach Groce for getting on, man, for sure.
Yeah, word for word what you said. You hit a lot of great points. I just wanted to talk about how Charleston could look this next year, bro, because and another important thing, like Coach Groce took this job, I think, May maybe early May, and he already got a roster that's extremely elite just by the names. I should say I haven't seen them play, obviously, and then the coaching staff too. I mean, he brought in Colin Terry. I don't know if you know who that is, but big player development guy in the NBA. Developed guys like AJ Mitchell, Andrew Nemhard, Pascal Siakam. Has a extensive track record, and then he brought in the Charlotte head coach, the Miami, Ohio associate head coach from last year. So their player development, their staff is going to be elite. And then they brought in Max Green, a transfer from Northwestern, Eli Ellis, OTE star, celeb kind of, and then had a really good year at South Carolina. I could go down the list of their transfers. They brought in a 4-star and Kobe Edwards, who's supposed to be really good. So I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited to see what Charleston has. I think they're going to be really good. The CAA, we know, is a great conference, but enough of us. Let's hear from Coach Groce. And don't forget to subscribe. Go follow us at Not Even D2. And let's
Like, follow, comment, all those things really help push out the algorithm for us. So make sure you do all those things for sure. All right, we are here, man. Another episode of Not Even D2. And today is this very special episode because we got College of Charleston head men's basketball coach, Coach Groce. How you feeling today, Coach?
Great. How about you guys?
Life is good. Life is good. The weather's starting to be nice in New York, so I'm feeling good. I wanted to ask you, so Akron, Ruda and I been to Ohio, wasn't our favorite place, but yeah, it's a big difference, Akron versus Charleston. Have you gotten to explore the city a little bit? Have you found any key spots, a new Starbucks for yourself? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, obviously we were fortunate in that our family has been down here on several occasions, whether it's, Wild Dunes, which is at Isle of Palms, a few times, whether it's Airbnbs at Isle of Palms, whether it's a visit to Sullivan's Island or, staying at Folly Beach for a couple weeks during COVID, shopping, restaurants. It always seemed that a lot of the time when we came down to the Charleston area was in August. So it was always around our anniversary. My wife and I's anniversary is August 17th. So we kind of would pick a place to eat in Charleston, and there's a lot of great ones for our anniversary. So we were very familiar with the city. It is, there's a reason why 9 of the last 10 years it's been picked by Travel and Leisure to be the best place to live in America. I mean, you've got the weather, the beaches, the ocean, the shopping, the restaurants. It's a beautiful, beautiful place.
I've never gone down there, but I always hear both Charleston and, if I'm not mistaken, Myrtle Beach, also in South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. Heard they're both great places to visit. I'm curious, you brought up the Whacky Wednesdays and before we started recording that you guys do with your team. I'm curious, how did you kind of start that? And you said you guys went to Top Golf. What are some future events you got planned?
Yeah, well, down here it's a little different because you have the water and the weather that's pretty consistent. So, we do something once a week during the summer. We did the same thing at Akron and at previous stops, Illinois and Ohio, but really more pronounced and consistent at Akron before coming here. And we started certainly here in week one. Our first one, as you just mentioned, was Top Golf. We had some guys that looked like they had swung a golf club before, and we had some other guys that it was foreign to them, so it was fun. We had a great time with that. But we'll have some days out on the beach. We'll take a catamaran. We'll do, we'll get out on the boat, tubing, jet skis. I mean, there's so much you can do on the water down here with the weather the way that it is. So we're excited to add those new activities to our typical ones, which have included like laser tag, paintball, cornhole or bags, dodgeball, softball, bowling, you name go-karts, you name it, golf lessons. We've had a great time with it over the years.
Yeah, I mean, that's always important too. Just like the the chemistry, the camaraderie, it's gets built right now. So for you taking a day off of core, or I know you guys had workouts, but just to separate from that and be able to like grow as a team is gonna help you guys come March or like as soon as the season starts. So I appreciate that. But let's talk about you. So obviously you've had a busy off season. And I wanted to ask you kind of how the Charleston opportunity came about, because last year you signed a contract extension with Akron. You guys win the MAC championship for the third year in a row. Just saying that out loud is kind of crazy. Like, shout out to you for that. Three chips in a row in that league is impressive. But just talk about like your decision to leave Akron and come over to Charleston.
Yeah, it was, obviously, we talked a little bit about the city of Charleston. I think the thing that makes it unique, in addition to the city, is we have a, you know, campus here that is one of the most beautiful in the country, maybe the world. You put that on top of the fact that the college is very well renowned and ranked and recognized nationally, and in some programs internationally, for having academic success. Very well respected, highly acclaimed academic institution. And then, I think the third part is the basketball program is, and I'll be honest with you guys, didn't know this. I knew they had won and had a great history and tradition here of excellence in basketball. But until I started researching it, I didn't know they had the fifth highest winning percentage in college basketball history, behind North Carolina, Kansas, Duke, and Kentucky. So it's pretty rarefied air. And obviously, 54 straight sellouts, a beautiful arena here that a lot of people get to see, not only when Charleston plays, but a lot of people certainly recognize the Charleston Classic that takes place here over Thanksgiving, that's nationally televised every year, highlighting the city, certainly the arena and the college. And so, there's just a lot of, from basketball to academics to the city itself, there's certainly, a lot of things here that are very, very special.
It's funny when we had your brother on, Coach Travis Steele, a couple weeks ago. Shout out to Coach Steele, and we were talking to him before we started recording. Just asked him, his thoughts about you getting hired, and he mentioned he was like, "Hey, like that job is one of the best major jobs in the country." And now, for all those reasons you just listed, like that kind of speaks to it, Coach.
Yeah, no, it's a special place. Obviously, we got a ton of work to do. It's, the last 2 months, I spoke last night here locally, downtown, at the Hibernian Society, which was a real privilege and honor to do that here within our community. And so I shared with them, 2 months on the job, we've hired 10 staff members and signed 11 players. That's 21 people, which, as you guys know, the most important part of any program is your people. And that's a lot of people in 2 months. So, we've got a lot of acclimating to do, both staff, players, familiarity and chemistry, as you were mentioning, KJ. That's just now starting here this week, and certainly have a long, long way to go. But really excited about the possibilities that we have here to build on. Obviously, just an unbelievable tradition here at the College of Charleston.
Yeah, for sure. I was looking through some of the transfers you've signed, some of the recruits you've brought in, and Charleston's going to be super good next year. So, but real quick, I just want to rewind a little bit. When was it like a possibility? Because I know when, like with coaching, sometimes it's so unexpected. Like this person takes a job, and then like everything is kind of just like in a cycle. So I'm curious for you, was it like I've done what I've had to do in the MAC, I've won three straight chips, or was it just simply like that's what happened? I'm curious to hear a little bit more about your process individually getting here.
Yeah, obviously, as I mentioned, highlighting what a great place this is, but at no point in time did I ever feel like, hey, we've done this or that previously at Akron, and therefore it's time. I never felt that way at all. Obviously, once again, this is a special opportunity, and obviously, I love my time there, 9 years. Grateful in particular for the community and the people that we met there. Met a lot of great people. We'll have lifetime friendships because of the time we had there over the 9 years. And it was great for my kids my wife, our family. Obviously we were coming off our time in Champaign when we moved to Akron, and really appreciated the way that the community embraced our family. And I think the community, obviously, for the most part, appreciates too, in particular, my wife and my kids, and the way that we, hopefully they feel like we left the community better than what it. You always talk about leaving it better than you found it, whether it's with your job or your community. And obviously we had opportunities to do that. It'll certainly always be a part of our a journey as a family.
Coach, it's those are powerful words, and it kind of speaks to the fact like you accomplish a lot at Akron, and I'm not a college basketball historian by any means, but during your time at Akron, that was the most that I'd heard of the program, throughout my lifetime, and you really brought that program to great heights that they probably haven't seen in some time. So, and like you said, you went to that school after leaving Champaign, so to go to a school like that, be there for 8, 9 years and really develop relationships, that's an important thing. That's an important thing.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'll say, sometime whenever it comes, I love what I'm doing so much. I could see myself doing this for a long time. And you'd have to. My wife may hate to hear me tell you two guys that, but I do. I really enjoy what we're doing. I love building teams, impacting lives.
Yeah.
Having a chance to compete, for championships. Those things are all pretty special. But, I think I'll look back, I'm sure, at some point in time, and it's hit me a few times even now. I mean, to win, like we did 6 championships in 7 years, if you include regular season and conference tournament, I think, there's only 6 or 7 programs in all of college basketball that have done that. And then you mentioned, KJ, to win the 3 MAC tournaments in a row. That had never been done in the history of the league. And it's a great league that's been around for a long time. So we do not take that for granted, that's for sure. To do that, you have to be really good, and you have to be prepared, and then you have to be a little fortunate, on top of that. But, we feel very, very blessed, with the success and impact certainly that we had there.
For sure, for sure. And I'm wondering, so like we mentioned, you had stops at different universities and colleges. When you first get to a program, right? Obviously, you talked about Charleston, right? The area and you being familiar. But when you look at like coaching staff or players that we want to bring in, what are the first evaluations that you make when you get to a program?
Yeah, great point. You read all these books, the first 90 days, or, whether it's a business or whether you're leading a, college basketball program, or, and there's certain ideas out there that I think a lot of great ideas. There's different ways to do it, of course, based on the leader. But, I think for us, the number one thing that we decided right from the jump was we're going to make this early on about the people. And if that means we can't get to everything we'd like to get to right now, then so be it. We have to prioritize. Um, and so for us, when I say people, that was, for our family, and we already mentioned it a little bit. We wanted to make sure that we obviously show great appreciation and gratitude for the place we were leaving. That's number one. Those people that certainly supported us, and we appreciate that. And then once getting here, it's about, okay, let's get to know the current players that are on the team and figure out if this is still a great fit for them from their perspective and from ours. And so there's another set of people. Once we kind of sifted through that, while doing that, I'm also thinking about what people do we want on our staff and our support staff. Because for a while, the first week or so, it was just me and our office administrator, Ashley Perucci, who's a rock star. Now, I knew there were a couple people that were definitely coming with us, but it took a little bit of time to get that done. And then we had to add, but we wanted to make sure that we had the right people that were about what we're about culturally, and so that were good fits for our staff and support staff. So we really dove into the current players that were at Charleston once we arrived. What people or players do we need to add to put the roster together. What people do we need to add to our staff and support staff to make it as good as any in the country? What relationships with people in the community, whether it's administrators, whether it's other coaches, whether it's boosters, whether it's donor, who are those people that we want to try to connect with as quickly as possible? And so to me, that's kind of was the focus once we arrived, was everything was about people. Once we now here after 2 months, guys, I mean, finally I can, I sat down and was able to dive into, like, for example, our schedule for next year, which is not done. The first 2 months, for the most part, other than a call or two that came in or a question about it from my athletic director, for the most part, we, didn't dive into that as deeply as we are right now, because we prioritize people. If I had to do it over again, guys, I'd do the exact same thing, because I think the most important thing is people. And we've got some good ones now. I like our roster. I love our staff. Obviously, we're trying to engage the community as much as possible. We've met a lot of great people and excited to continue to meet many more.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes that can be lost in today's age. Like, focus on who you're bringing in, who is going to value where they are, who wants to be surrounded by you, basically. So when you, like, I'm not sure your retention stats, but you talk about a player like Tavari who stuck with you for maybe 3 4 years. You talk about Shama who stuck with you from freshman year. It's like those relationships that you build are, even if you're not winning, which you guys definitely were, but like those are the people that you want to keep around. And you touched on it real quick, just like you focused on the people, and then you finally get to talk about scheduling. And that's probably another huge aspect of college sports right now, like especially at the mid-major level, when you talk about like Miami, Ohio last year, discussions about whether they were going to get in or not. So what's your process right now with scheduling? Like, who you thinking about getting on, who you trying to load up against? Talk about like the schedule for next year.
Yeah, and, obviously we want to play an aggressive, non-conference schedule. They've always done that here. We've got games with, return games with teams that we're trying to make sure we find dates for. We have to make sure we play enough home games. We have a great home court here, great facility, great venue, great support here. As I said, 54 straight sellouts. Place is well supported. So we've got to make sure we hit the mark there. Obviously, you're talking about making sure that you're in, for us, we want to be in an exempt tournament. Some of these contracts have not been signed yet or fulfilled. Otherwise, I would mention some names on air here. But once the contracts get completed, we'll have more information to release publicly. But we're going to be aggressive. The great thing is we're able to get, I've noticed this when I've looked at Charleston's schedule over the years, guys, because again, some of the things we talked about earlier, with it being such a great city and great place, they've been able to get some great home and home series and some opportunities here at TD Arena, again, because of some of the things we mentioned earlier, relationally, to the great place that this is, not only the arena and the environment, but the city.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of other head coaches would love to, spend a little weekend in Charleston and also, play a basketball game. It's not a bad deal, right, Coach?
Yeah,
Not a
it's
bad
not
deal.
not at all. Not at all. One
Yeah.
of our players yesterday, a few of these guys worked out and they got all their work in, got extra shots up, and it was the afternoon. I was talking to them today. They said, "Coach, where I'm from, you can't just say, well, I think I'll go to the beach and drive there in 15 minutes." So they did that yesterday as a group, a certain number of them on the team, and that it certainly makes this location and city unique.
For sure, coach. And you mentioned that point about like, focusing in on the people, and I love that point. And I had a question on here about like getting recruited by you, right? So we're talking about bringing in people. If I'm a high school or transfer guard and I'm trying to play for Coach Groce, what characteristics do I need to both get recruited by you and excel in your basketball system?
Yeah, no, it's great. Great question. I think when we evaluate, the first thing we're looking for is what we call talent. Now, that people define that differently within each program. And, without getting too in detail and eating up the entire time on the podcast, we do have specific things we look for in that talent box relative to positions, whether they're a playmaking guard, a wing, a forward, a front court player. Do they fit what we're looking for talent wise? Once we see that and we feel like, okay, they fit our style of play and how we recruit each respective position or type of position. Now, the second thing we're going to really dive into, which to me is the most important, because I always give him the analogy of that's character, and that's both off-court character and on-court character. In other words, who are they? We see this talent, and maybe it's a skill like shooting or elite ball handling or finishing or elite level size or length or athleticism or whatever that might be, right? That fits these positions we talked about. But then we need to find out, like, who are they? Are they guys that can deal with adversity? What's their body language like? What's their attitude like? Do they play with motor? Do they play with great effort when their high school or AAU team is in a tie game, up 20 or down 20? Or can you see a change in disposition? How coachable are they? Do they put their body in place? They play with some physical toughness, or are they soft? Like all those character traits, right? Off the court, do they go to class? Does it look like, in situations with the transfer, professors, academic people at the previous institution like dealing with that student athlete? Maybe it's a high school kid. Teachers are like, oh, we love having KJ or Naruda in class. It's awesome. They're good people. They're on time. They turn in their, like, we're trying to find out their academic character as well as their, what we call citizenship character. How do they treat their mom when we're sitting in a living room or in school? Do they roll their eyes at their mom? Are they respectful of their mom or their dad? Or in some cases, as you guys know, everyone has different mentors. Maybe it's an uncle, that they have a great relationship with. Do they treat them with respect? Do they treat other people with respect? That's in the character box. And to me, and I've told the guys this, it's like, the talent's like you walk outside, and I told them this in our meeting on Sunday, and you see a bright red, brand new Ferrari parked outside, and you're like, wow, that thing looks great. And then you open up the hood, and there's no engine. So it looks good, but it doesn't. So you're supposed to be able to drive it. So the only way you're going to be able to drive it is if you have that character and that fuel. That engine, to me, is the character. That's what, obviously allows the car to move. So to me, it's the same thing. That character allows that talent to flourish. And we're really diving in very heavily, to that. Obviously, work capacity matters to us. Do they love the game? Do they want to work? Are they selfish or unselfish with their tendencies? Those are all like, who are they? And once we figure out who they are, if they're our type of guy and they fit that talent we talked about initially, positionally, whether they're a guard, a wing, a forward, a front court player, then oftentimes, obviously we'll move forward in the recruitment.
Yeah. I mean, again, it stems back to the original point of just like, we're going after people with this program, whether that's decreasing our attention to other things, whether that's encore and stuff. The people genuinely matter if you're going to build a consistent program. And it showed with your programs at Akron. But I was trying to think of a way to ask you this, Coach, like, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but when you're coaching at a high major school, like, you talking about character, how are their grades, how are they in the classroom, like, that in a way could be like, well, we really don't care about that. We're just trying to win games. Do you think like that's the major difference when you're coaching a high major versus a mid-major program? Or I don't know. I was trying to figure out a
it's
way
a
to
great
ask that.
question, KJ. I think, for me, I look back at 30 years, right, of plus of doing this. I think a lot of times when we've made mistakes, you ignore red flags in some of those areas we just talked about there ad nauseum. Regardless of level, the old maxim, talent is never enough. If talent, once you get to a certain level, everyone's really talented. I do think those character things we just talked about make a big difference, regardless of level. Now, someone else may give you a different opinion, but I've looked back on the 30 plus years and think when we, thought that, hey, they're really, really talented and we'll just figure it out if they were missing, maybe some key character traits. I would say occasionally that might work. A guy might figure it out or whatever, but most of the time it doesn't. And so that's why I think that evaluation process of both the basketball piece, the talent, do they fit your style of play and your system, as well as the character piece, they're equally important.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that answer. I was just curious, trying to pick your brain a
Yeah.
little bit, but let's transition into a little bit different. So, like we've been talking about, 3 straight MAC titles, 3 straight NCAA tournament appearances. When you think about, like, winning 3 straight, like, you got programs like Toledo, Kent State, Miami, Ohio doing great things, and for you to win 3 straight, that's a mark. Like you said, nobody's done it in the league, so you deserve. I'm not sure if you get enough credit for what you've done, but what's your opinion, or how do you kinda translate that success? You're into a new in a new program now, you're in a new conference. Like, what's your mindset trying to rebuild that type of success?
Yeah. Well, I would say this, for me, I've just tried to learn, even in our CAA meetings, just kind of listen and learn, whether it's administrators, coaches, our conference leadership, just try to be open minded because it's a new challenge. We're excited about the new challenge, obviously. Just even for example, guys, like, the league format is games are on Thursday and Saturdays for the most part, unless a game gets bumped to national television, in particular on a Sunday or Monday. So, this is the first time I've been in a league that's played Thursday, Saturday. For me, I'm a little older than most, including you guys, and it reminds me of how the old Pac-12 was, right? Where you had travel partners like Oregon and Oregon State were travel partners. Washington and Washington State were travel partners. Stanford and Cal were travel partners. USC and UCLA, Arizona State, for example.
You talking like 30 years ago, coach.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah. But it's yeah, a lot's changed, right? You guys are right about that. But yeah, so it's that was the my last recollection specifically of Thursday, Saturday type of scheduling, and the CAA has done that and is continuing to do that at this point. And so that will be an adjustment in terms of how we approach each week from a preparation standpoint. So we've got a lot to learn. I'm excited to learn more, and obviously, it'll be a great growth opportunity for myself, our staff, our players as we go about attacking it together.
Coach, CAA, definitely a great conference. We had, I don't know if you're familiar with Coach Scary at Towson. We had him on the
Yeah,
podcast
yeah,
many
that's a
years
good one
ago.
to have. Pat's not only a very, very, very good coach. I like him a lot. Good person and a very funny individual. So hopefully, I'm sure he had a good time with you guys.
Oh man, he had us rolling, coach. He was hilarious for sure,
Oh
and
yeah,
a great coach too. I wanted to ask you, coach. So, in a lot of your press conferences, I hear you talk about your teams like you want them to be aggressive and just attacking the defense or attacking the offense, whatever it may be. But when you watch your teams play, like you guys also play with great structure, right? And you guys are taking not crazy shots. You're not playing all over the place, right? So in watching that, I'm just wondering, how do you balance both the structure in your offense and defense while also teaching like discipline? Because you guys have a very up-tempo, high-level effort and energy-ridden team.
yeah. Well, first, give credit to the players. KJ mentioned some of them earlier that played on this last year's team or for us here in recent years. You have to have guys that care about winning first and foremost, that want to buy into how we want to play. The way our offense, we describe it as all gas, no brakes. We are rolling. We obviously averaged 85 to 90 a game the last 2 years playing this way very efficiently and had one of the nation's, not just the league's, but one of the nation's best offenses. Very unselfish. You have to, you have to really understand as a player that if we're going to allow you to play this fast with this much freedom, there comes that responsibility balance that you're talking about in Naruto. understanding like what good shots are is important. And obviously, we work a lot of skill development with the different position groups to be able to play within our offense conceptually, to make decisions, to make reads, and to play basketball. We talk about players letting players play rather than running or inundating them with running plays. So we do run some, obviously, whether it's a timeout or maybe attacking a certain matchup or certain coverage late in the game, or out of a media timeout, dead balls. But for the most part, we're letting them play. So we spend a lot of time teaching them how to play. It is a fun way to play. Everybody touches the ball. One of our standard rules is, and you guys will love this, we, early on in the season, we'll have a meeting and I'll say, does anyone in here think that if 2 or more players are guarding them, that they should not pass the ball? And no one raises their hand. I said, okay, so we all agree if 2 or more players are guarding any of us, doesn't matter if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, grad transfer, what state you're from, it doesn't matter. We all agree we should pass, unless it's a shot clock situation or late clock. They're all, yes. So that is a big deal in our program. Anytime we get 2 or more on the ball, we want guys thinking pass, playing unselfishly. And certainly the last 2 years, the guys have really done that at a super, super high level. But again, it starts with the disposition of your players to buy into that, to play unselfishly. And when everybody's doing that, then everybody gets a chance to eat. And that's what happens when you have 7 guys average 7 or more points per game this year, 4 in double figures, and previous year it was 5 in double figures, and 2 other guys at 7 or more points per game. Like, it's hard. I think it's hard to play against because it's so unpredictable and random that you don't know where it's coming from or how it's coming on any given night. So it's a fun way to play. I've enjoyed teaching the system and the style in particular the last couple of years, and we're going to continue to play that way here at Charleston.
Yeah, watching Akron the past few years, you hardly see a player open and end the possession without the ball. Like you guys seem to always, you're hitting gaps and you're playing super hard. People are trying to get to the basket, but it's also like they're controlling themselves when they get down there and hitting the open guy. And another reason why I think your offense is so good, and you mentioned it was one of the best in the country. I got a few stats about it. You guys were 8th in effective field goal percentage, and you were 7th in scoring offense. So those two alone just like speak for itself. But also 18 assists per game, like that's high level. When you watch your team play in transition, like if a team's not ready to tag or they have a slow 5-man, it's so hard for them because the 5 might be running to the paint, but then you're just forgetting someone trailing the play at the top of the key. I'm seeing so many wide open catch and shoot top of the key threes. So it's just like you're not calling any plays specifically that's, oh my God, that was crazy, but it's a system that continuously
sure.
has gotten better. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about did you have anything on that? I saw you opening.
No, you're good.
All right. I wanted to ask you about March Madness real quick. I know that coaches, they get into the tournament and it's just, we got to be better than this team. And that whoever plays better is going to keep advancing. Akron was a huge pick in the March Madness bracket. It's not that matters to you, but just like, what did you learn from last year's experience? I think it's a little bit different. And when you're coaching a mid-major, it's like, we get to the tournament, how do we balance, or how do we match up against a high major team? Whereas a high major, they're playing high majors throughout the season. So it's like not that much learning. I guess they are still learning, but it's a different level from a mid-major perspective. So I'm just curious if you could talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I thought, unfortunately, we didn't play our best game. And I think, the guys would tell you that. And you need to do that in that situation, right? To have a chance to advance against a team, certainly of the quality of Texas Tech. But yeah, and it's so different, when I was at Ohio, we played obviously Georgetown, Tennessee, Michigan, Carolina, those teams, and they were very good teams, very well coached. But it was also pre-transfer portal and pre-NIL. So there was, it's a different space than it is currently now. makes it probably a little bit more challenging, but a little bit more fun as well. You got to embrace it. Our guys were confident going into the game. I thought they were prepared. I thought they prepared well. I thought that we were good enough, certainly, you know, um, to win the game if we played well. We just didn't play well enough. Texas Tech played better that day. Obviously, Grant does a great job, and it was a big play in the game. Obviously, when Watts fouled out and it was a 2-possession game, I thought, boy, maybe that was going to be a big deal in the game. But give their guys credit, in particular their guards. Really stepped up and made some big plays, created a little more distance, and then obviously made it tough for us to come back. So, but great experience, and I do think it's so different. Obviously, like tonight, obviously, as we're filming this now, we got the NBA Finals, that are starting, and those series are best of 7 series. When you play, which is the beauty of March Madness, and I think why so many people adore it. Right? You don't have to. I remember the one year we beat Georgetown. I had a media guy ask me, "Hey, you made, I think it was 6. You have to look it up, guys, but 16 or whatever it was ish threes in the game." And he asked me, he said, "Could you do it again if you played them tomorrow?" I said, "Well, I don't know, but we sure did today." And it's a 1-game deal in March Madness. It's not a best of 7, best of 5, so it's so different in that regard. But we just didn't play well enough that day. Certainly give Texas Tech credit. They were the better team on that day.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely played good, and it was a 20-point game, I think, at the end, but it wasn't a 20-point, like, you
No, it
watched
really
the
wasn't.
game, that you guys were down 5 with, like, 6 minutes to go. You went cold for a few minutes, but it was a neck and neck game for sure, competitive.
Yeah.
But we're gonna end it with this before we get into rapid fire, and I'm curious for you, like I said, you're off 3 straight chips, but you're in a new program, new conference. What's your vision for College of Charleston? What are you trying to accomplish at the end with this program?
Yeah, I think there's 3 things, obviously, we're really trying to do here. And we've talked already at length about what a great place this is in terms of the city and the campus. And, these people are, obviously hungry to be good, and they care a lot. It's awesome. It is a great blessing. And so we feel that we have a real responsibility to engage the community here and to do a good job with the city and the people that, really support us. So number one, we want to engage the community. And number two, we want to provide a transformational experience, no different than we did at the previous place I was at, for our players. We expect those guys to grow and improve as people, students, and players as they're with us. You had some names earlier. I mean, I think about where Tavari Johnson was as a freshman, and then by the time he finished where he was at, person, student, and player, was unbelievable. Monty Lyles, same way. Shema Scott, same way. Evan Mahaffey, the other senior, was with us only 10 months. And, I wish I would have, recorded his locker room speech after the Texas Tech game and what the year meant to him and the experience he had, and the great deal of joy that he had from the experience and the relationships that he built and that we built with him. So that transformational experience is important. We want guys who come in here and then when they leave, they're better because of being a Cougar. And then lastly, obviously, we don't make any, we don't dodge it. We're committed to competing for and, going after championships. That's what we're doing. So those are the three goals we have here, and what we're setting out to do. The way to do that, obviously, is to be focused, I think, on the people. We talked about that a lot, and developing them collectively as a team, developing them individual to be better people. I tell them all the time, better people, better Cougars. You know, um, and if we do that every day and just keep trying to do the right thing every day, then stack those days, then we're going to give ourselves a chance to accomplish those 3 things we mentioned: engage the community, transformational experience, and compete for championships. Um, so that's kind of what what our roadmap is here and what we're setting out to do.
For sure, Coach. And I just want to say before we get into rapid fire, definitely appreciate you getting on the pod, Coach. It's been a great time with you. And CAA, there's some games in the Northeast up near New York. So I know KJ and I are definitely going to try to make some games when you guys play
Yeah, please
nearby.
do. Let us know if you're coming. I'd love to, obviously love to see you face to face as well. KJ, you said you had a Tavari Johnson uh, question or
Oh yeah.
story after talking to Tavari. And if it's a part of rapid fire, I'll let you roll. But if not,
Yeah, it's gonna be after Ruda. It's gonna be after Ruda.
okay.
I
All
got
right.
you.
All right.
All right, so first rapid fire question, coach. So I heard you're pretty much a fan of like most music genres. So I gotta ask, like, who is like your GOAT, like, or pantheon of like musical artists? Just kind of curious
Jeez.
about that.
That's not even close. You could ask my kids that, my wife. So I've seen the Michael Jackson movie 3 times since it's come out. And Jafar did such a great job. I mean, at times I catch myself, I'm watching it and I forget that it's not Michael. It's him acting. You
Yeah.
know, y- um, so I remember I told my kids, and when Michael Jackson came out at the MTV Music Awards and did Billie Jean and moonwalked. From that point on, all of us kids were trying to moonwalk and figure out how he moonwalked. And um, I always use the example of if I ever got stuck on an island and you told me, "Hey, you can only listen to one musician the rest of your life. Who you going to listen to?" It's Michael Jackson. So in my opinion, my humble opinion, I think he is the goat.
Well, what's your favorite Michael Jackson song then? I gotta ask.
Boy, a lot of them. The one I liked in the movie, which probably wouldn't have been even in my top 3, but after the movie, I like Human Nature in the movie. I love that scene at the concert, outdoor concert there. Um, but I would tell you, a lot of people obviously mentioned "Beat It" and Billie Jean and "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough" and all the different songs he sang, even with the Jackson Five. But my favorite is PYT.
That's a good one
Yeah,
for sure. That's a good one for
yeah,
sure. I
yeah.
would say I actually haven't seen the movie, coach, so I gotta see it. Even though I do like Michael Jackson, I just haven't seen the movie yet. I heard it's great though.
Yeah,
Obviously from you.
yeah, it's a
Um,
good one.
I'll definitely lock in. So next rapid fire question I got for you, coach. So you played in some great college basketball arenas. Besides TD Arena, what has been your favorite arena that you've been in? Or top 3, let's
Wow.
say.
Top 3 in terms of environment, um, and in some good ones. I've been so blessed, I think, being a part of, the rivalries that I've been in, when I was at Akron, whether it was Akron, Kent, at either place, Illinois, Missouri, Bush Bragging Rights game is what it was called at the time I was there in St. Louis, um, Ohio, Miami, when I was at Ohio, NC State, obviously NC State. Anytime NC State played Carolina or Duke, that was a big rivalry, big deal. Those arenas and venues were really good. I remember my first year with Herb Sendek at NC State. We went to play Kansas in Fog Allen. Coached games in Breslin Center, Mackey Arena. Obviously, State Farm slash Assembly Hall was the home court at Illinois. Great environments. I don't know. I've been in so many. I don't know if I have like all those were really, really, really good. So I don't know if I have necessarily a top 3 or number 1. So I think the loudest environment that I've been in may have been in the mid to late '90s. I remember we went into Cameron and played, but Mackey's loud. Assembly. There's a lot of them, man. I'm like the luckiest guy in the world that we've had opportunities to coach in these rivalry games that have electric environments, and then obviously in some of the most notable arenas and environments. Having a chance to coach in Madison Square Garden. I mean, Barclays Center. Like, I mean, we've been we've had a chance to do a lot. Our family has been very blessed in that regard.
And then last rapid fire question I got for you, coach. Who's been a player that you've coached, let's say at Akron, that you feel like just showed the biggest development over your time there? Like, well, we got this kid as a freshman. Like, look at the player he is
Yeah.
now.
A lot of them. We take a lot of pride in a lot of those guys improving, whether it's, all those guys we just mentioned that played here, that played recently for us, made huge jumps, you know, um, so many guys. But you'd be remiss if you didn't think, and I think most people would immediately turn to the story of Enrique Freeman, who went from literally a walk-on to the 50th pick in the NBA draft. It's kind of like if you guys have watched the movie Blindside. That was obviously from a football perspective. I mean, what an amazing story, um, and just an amazing person, amazing family, incredible work capacity, great teammate, great leader. The way his body changed, his game changed. I mean, again, we could spend an entire podcast telling that whole story from the time he came out in the what would have been the fall of 2019 at the urging of his mother, who's a Cleveland City police officer. He didn't come out the year before when he was a member of the general student body because he was afraid he was going to get cut, to 5 years later getting drafted by the Indiana Pacers, so, and he deserved all of it. He deserved, I mean, he's guys that have played with him or been in that locker room with him I bet almost all those guys would tell you that he's one of the best teammates they've ever had. He was that good of a teammate and obviously that good of a player and just an amazing development story.
Yeah, that's remarkable and inspiring just hearing you talk about it, and you didn't even go into depth. But I've been trying to figure out a different way to start ending these episodes, and this is gonna be the first time we're testing it out, Coach Groce. So work with us. We're gonna call it story time. So how it's gonna work is I'm just gonna mention 3 names. I'll go one at a time. You tell me your favorite story. You can go short on the story. You can go long. It's up to you. I'll just start with the first one. And the first one, I'm going to guide you a little bit. Tavari said, ask him about how he was plotting on chewing me out before the workout even started my freshman year.
It's amazing what guys remember, don't they? It's interesting. Obviously, I think early on when Tavari was a freshman, he always had great swagger and belief in himself as a player. But I think he'd be the first to tell you, like, his attention to detail, his discipline in every area wasn't where it is now. He grew. That's one of the reasons I'm just so proud of him and love him with where he started and where he finished as a person, as a student, player, just incredible transformation. But yeah, there were a few times where he knew that when I was, and I didn't do it very often, but if I was going to get on him, there was, usually for his, maybe it's something to do with discipline or effort or whatever. But, he obviously, made us go and was a big part of our team the last 2 years in particular, but really even throughout his entire career. I'll tell you one story. This is for getting ready to play Kent this past year, sellout crowd, national television. And a guy who sits beside the bench said to me, well, we look a little tight. And I said, well, I don't know, but number 5 out there, he's cool as a cucumber. And that matters a lot. Because obviously he's going to have the ball in his hands a large amount. And that was Tavari. Tavari was number 5. I think, the bigger the game, typically, like he had a great way about him where he played with tremendous courage. So, yeah, very blessed to have coached him.
Shout out to Tavari, man. Shout out to Tavari. All right, next guy, Thad Matta. I know you guys coached for a little while together, got all the way to the Natty. So let me hear a story about Thad. Am I pronouncing it right, Thad?
You did, yeah. You did. It's interesting. One time we were joking around, and he said, some of these great coaches have nicknames. Coach Bob Huggins, who became a friend and is a friend of mine now, a Hall of Fame coach, tremendous human being and coach, was known as Hugs. And so Thad referenced that. So we decided that day in the coach's locker room that we'd give him the nickname T-Bone. So even to this day, when I text him, occasionally I'll say Coach Matta or Thad, but I'll say T-Bone. But no, he means a great deal to me and my family. You know, obviously we wouldn't even be talking on this podcast. You know, I wouldn't be the coach here without everything that he did for us. I always tell people that he is obviously, in my opinion, a Hall of Fame basketball coach. You know, he is. But he's an even better person. You know, there's very few people you'll find in life that don't like Thad Matta. And a lot of that is just derived from the fact that he has a way of, you know, treating everyone with respect and making them feel special. And I always have admired him from that or because of that. And so, amongst other things, but yeah, so there's a couple Thad Matta stories for you.
Yes, special story. Shout out to him for his retirement too. And then last one, got to go with our guy, Mr. Travis Steele.
Yeah, Trav. Well, I'll tell you what, man, I'm super proud of what he has built there. Um, so happy for him and his family. Obviously, I even use social media. I went to social media, just, kudos to Miami, for, making it public and to everybody, how important that a job that he did and how important he is to the, athletic department and Miami, and what he did there is just unbelievable, tremendous. Happy for him, and really, really proud of what they've built there, and excited to continue to follow him, obviously moving forward. But yeah, it reminds me certainly when we were younger of, I look back at all those times, whether it was, I was an assistant coach at NC State and he would come and stay with me during the summers and I'd work him out, or, when I coached him in AAU, or, when he was a manager for us at Butler, when he was, grad assistant at Ohio State, and how, he was always eager to learn, worked extremely hard, very smart, and, just really, really, again, proud would be the word probably that I would use there. But yeah,
Yeah.
excited for him, and obviously congratulating him on his new contract. And obviously when you have that type of success, and he knows this, it's not just him, it's his staff, his support staff, his players. And, obviously Miami stepped up there and showed great commitment and appreciation, certainly for what he had accomplished, and looking forward to, following them again moving forward.
Yeah, I know he's going to hear that and feel good about himself coming from his big brother. That definitely means a lot. But all right, so if you want to see one person on Not Even D2, who would it be? But you have to help us get him on. It could be anybody.
It's a great question. You said what again, KJ? It could be two. What'd you say? Or you're looking
on
for
our
one
show,
person.
Not Even D2. Yeah.
You're looking for one person. Who would I suggest? Boy, there's a lot of great ones out there. Maybe I don't know if you've had him on before, but my friend Matt Painter, who's obviously just a terrific terrific basketball coach and a great human being. So, yeah, he'd be a good one for you guys to have on. I'll send him you guys send an email to Purdue, and I'll send him a text and tell him I was fortunate enough to spend some time with both of you, and that he should consider getting on your podcast.
We'll definitely send that email this week. Well, we appreciate you getting on. We gave you a lot of flowers throughout, but I don't know if there's a resume in college basketball as built up as yours. So we appreciate you getting on and wishing College of Charleston the best of luck.
Hey, appreciate it, guys. It was great being on, and enjoyed spending time with you.
That's going to do it for our conversation with Coach Groce. High-level coach. I think you guys are going to appreciate how he builds a culture, his philosophy in the portal, recruiting, all of those things. You get a lot from this episode. And I think, like I said in the beginning, like he already built something special at Akron, and I could see it continuing to just go with him at the next stop. So keep in mind College of Charleston and Coach Groce, but you have any final remarks about this episode?
Nah, man, I'm really excited to see, like you said, see what they do this year. And, they in the CAA and they play some games in the Northeast. So, Coach Gross going to see us at some Northeast games in the CAA for sure.
Yes, sir. All right, so like I said, Ruda is one of the only true New York fans that we're seeing on social media right now, and I want to hear your thoughts. It's 2-1 time of recording. It'll be the game 4 will be decided at the time of this episode dropping, but just give me a little recap. How you feeling? How the game's been going in your perspective? Talk to me.
Feel real good, man. Feel real good. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. Going into the series, a lot of people, doubted the Knicks. A lot of people felt like it was going to be Spurs in 5. I seen some sweeps on there too. And I just kept quiet. I kept quiet. I've been kind of keeping quiet the whole year. I was really disappointed in the Knicks in the regular season. I didn't really feel like they had a strong regular season. But in the playoffs, obviously we've turned it around. We've been on a hot streak and we played to our capability, like I've always known this team could play. When it comes to the finals, I think the biggest thing for me, if we're going to talk about game 3, I don't think the role players showed up like they did in game 1s and 2. And I think that ultimately is what is going to help the Knicks the most because I've been saying to many people, if Victor Wembanyama is the best player in the series, we have the next best 3 players, in my opinion, or next best 2. Then you can go, so that'll be Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns. Then you could say Stephon Castle is 4th. Then I'm going to take OG Anunoby after anyone else over anyone else on the Spurs roster. So I really felt like we had that advantage. And, OG played well. Brunson played decently, but Mikal, 2 points. Cat didn't really play well in game 3.
You had a great shooting night from Josh Hart, though. You can't skip over that. That was big time.
For sure. And then, but, Clarkson played well off the bench. But, I want to see more Deuce McBride minutes. Only played, I think, around like 15 minutes maybe, which, he plays a lot of defense. Obviously, Clarkson can get hot, but I trust McBride out there more just because he's been with his team more. But definitely like the showing from the Knicks. Love how they're playing. The ball the ball needs to be moving a lot more in game 4, I think, for the Knicks to have success. And every one of the role players, the OG, Mikal, Cat, they all have to have an impact on the game. But I like how the Knicks are playing, though.
Yeah, the Knicks are. I don't know if we've seen a team have so many questions coming into the playoffs and even during the playoffs and look this good. Like I was with a bunch of Knicks fans last night and they were devastated after the loss, but I'm like, yo, you guys haven't felt the feeling of a loss in over a month, bro. So
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm
understand.
saying. Yeah.
But to your point, like the role players, it definitely is just who's making more shots, and that's basketball as a whole. But specifically in this series, like the Spurs shoot horrible in the second half in game 1 to allow them to lose the game, and then vice versa in game 2, and then in game 3, like they were kind of hot throughout the game. So it's just shot variance, and I don't think all the games will just be who shot better, but shot variance has been a big thing in this series. Both teams were getting good looks in game 3. It's just who's knocking them down and who's not. It's kind of crazy how the narrative switches throughout playoff seasons. And I remember saying this a few years ago about when the Celtics won the championship. Like everybody hated JB and Tatum, and then they got it done, and it was the best thing ever. The Knicks, everybody hated Cat. Brunson wasn't good enough, and now they're there, and it's Brunson, top 5 player in the NBA, Cat, top 15. So it's just funny how news cycles go up and down. This has been a longer episode. I'll let you keep going if you want, but if not, we can get out of here. What you thinking?
No, I mean, yeah, I think, it's interesting just to see the amount of, obviously a big topic online has been, the fandom of Knicks fans, which I love to see you talk about, how the city is right now. The city is live, the city is jumping. But I also think as Knicks fans, like we can't get greedy, bro. Like, yes, we lost one game. That's devastating, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not devastated, bro. It's a 7-game series for a reason. We played like Victor Wembanyama is not Donovan Mitchell or James Harden, bro. Stephon Castle is not them, bro. They're not just gonna lose when they down 3-0 and start planning their summer vacations, bro. Like they're trying to win this shit. So I want to say that to Knicks fans too.
Nah, that's a fact. Bro, last night I was on the train and it's like I think the game got over at 11:30 and I had an hour commute. Bro, there were so many Knicks fans and I was just trying to chill and they're all drunk and shit. But the city's live, bro. Yeah, I can't wait for you to come out here. Real quick, what you think of Trump going to the game?
Not to get too political, but I just, I'm not a fan of him, and I just felt like he went just to go, just to say he went to an NBA Finals game, bro, and made everyone's lives in the city that much more difficult for a couple hours. So,
Yeah.
um, you can
We
never come back. So.
we haven't he said you can never come back. We haven't had a president that is so egocentric, I don't think. Like, take all the politics aside, like his ego is always so present, and then he gets in the game and cameras are on him. Shout out MSG for booing him crazy. I
He
respected
was
that.
sleeping.
And then he was sleeping, bro. Like, what are you doing? This is our president of the United States, just so we're all clear. Like, this isn't Drewski or a YouTuber like getting memed. This is the president of the United States, and that's the world we live in. And I guess that's the note we'll head out on. Shout out to Not Even D2. Go follow us. Go comment. Go like. Go subscribe. All of that helps a lot. And we'll see you next week. We got another banger.